The title of this podcast is I used to say I don't have time to work on myself. And I asked the question, like, why would that be? Oftentimes I'll ask people, uh, or people will say to me, hey, I don't have time to do the practice. And I remember saying this all the time too. I would say, hey, I don't have time to meditate, or I don't have time to I don't have time to do yoga. Oh, but it's only like a 20-minute yoga practice. I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. I'm in school right now. I got this going. I got all this other stuff going. And looking back, I understand why I didn't have time because I was spending all my time complaining, resisting, trying to make the outside world be a certain way for me to be okay inside. Like I spent all my time doing that, walking into places, looking for what needed to be improved upon, what was wrong, like, hey, I eat this way. Why don't you serve this? No wonder I had no time to work on myself. The same energy that I was spending complaining about things could have easily been replaced by working on myself in that moment. Every day spent complaining about the Arizona heat in the summertime, I could have taken that same quantity of time and used it to notice the sunrise. I could have done that, but I did. Every day that I came into work and complained about staffing or complained about some policy or some other person, I could have spent the time expressing gratitude for having a job, for being there. I could have spent the time looking for ways that I could help improve it without complaining. I could have done that. So because I didn't, it's no wonder I had no time to work on me. I had no time. And what happened was I just kept suffering more and more and more, but I was unconscious to the suffering. And then one day I looked up and be like, who is that person? I don't even recognize them. I moved so far from being grateful every day. And not just grateful in the morning when I wake up or at night when I go to bed and I'm thinking about my loved ones, or it's part of my ritual, growing up that I would pray at night and do my prayers before bed. No, no, no. I'm talking about living it throughout the day. Because I wasn't living it throughout the day, I spent all my time doing the other things that people do. And so that left no time, zero time to work on me. So when people say that, if you're like me, I understand why they don't have time, because all the time is being spent on something else that doesn't return anything that is valuable, that is useful, that helps you grow. It doesn't. That's doing that thing like that. Well, most of my time is spent on working on school or working on this project, and got it. How are you working on it? Obsessive thinking? Like even when you're with other people, you're thinking about work or the project or with school, or are you using that time to be anxious about something? What if you replace being anxious about it with working on yourself so you can be free of anxiety? That's one thing you could do with the time. So I started to really think differently about how I was spending my time, because the way that I was doing it was really a full-time job. The time that I spent with that negative behavior, the obsessive thinking, it was full-time, resisting what is. I mean, the time that I would have wasted over the pandemic, over masking, oh my God. Wow. Time I would have spent with new laws, upset, mad, elections, complaining to everybody who would listen. Wasted time. Now, that's not to say that I don't take action. Oh, yes. Election day, I'm at the poll, voting for who I think could be helpful, useful for building and nurturing a just and equitable, inclusive society. Yeah, I'll do that. But I'm not spending every working moment listening to the news, listening to other people complain or bring all their stuff to the space. I'm not doing that. Why? Because I'm spending my time working on me, period. And when I do that, I take the same action that they do. So, well, I won't do other people. I'll do me. So let's do Keith 1.0 and Keith 2.0. Keith 1.0 doesn't have time for this, to work on me inside. I worked out, I exercised, I ate well, I did all those things, positive thinking, personal growth. I did all that stuff. But working on me in such a way that I don't need other people or the world to show up a certain way for me to be okay inside. Oh, I wasn't doing that kind of work. So let's take a little case study of Keith 1.0 and Keith 2.0. Keith 1.0. Now, spending his time, years past, looking at rules made by other people, whether it was doing my time in the Marine Corps, whether it's part of my working career in financial services or school, you name it. During that period, I would spend my time worrying. Something would happen out of society. I would have a reaction to it. I would obsessively think about it, whether it was an election, whether it was something that happened in social justice, whether it was something that happened with the law, didn't matter, whatever it was. I would spend my time talking about it, reading about it, listening to it, the whole 9 yards. That's where I would spend my time. And I would do the same thing with people. Somebody who says something, did something, I would spend all my time talking about them the whole time, right? And then there would be time to act. When is the action? Oh, it's election day. Okay, I go and I would take action and voted for whoever I decide to vote for. Now, that's Keith 1.0. That's how he spent his time. Working, worrying, carrying on, chaos inside, suffering, upset, mad, resisting, all that. Then there's Keith 2.0. Spending his time, everything that goes in, oh, wow. Oh, that didn't feel good. Oh, let me work on myself with that. Oh, they just made another Supreme Court ruling. Oh, they just changed the law. Oh, wow. I don't think that contributes to a just and open society. Let me work on being able to handle that inside so that people that are aligned with that kind of thinking or supported those moves, that I don't create enemies out of them, that I still keep an open heart to them. How do I practice acceptance in that moment? So again, nothing about the outside world working completely on me. Spend my 4 years between elections practicing and working on that. Election day comes, I go and vote, but did it peacefully. So when action needed to be taken, there's the same amount of action taken. Keith 1.0 voted on the first Tuesday in November. Keith 2.0 did the same thing. One of us worked on themselves during that period. One was peaceful. The other one was a mess, for himself and for anybody else who would listen. Which one would you do? Which one would you want to be around? Which one would you want to have the experience of? The peaceful one. But people, and I certainly didn't look at it this way, that the time is going to pass anyway. And as the time passes, why not work on myself along the way? Because that's the part that I can control. Something goes wrong in your profession, your mind tells you that. You can become worked up about it. And when you do, guess what you're not working on? Yourself. So you're causing suffering for yourself and for other people by thinking that your primary job is to work on everything outside first. No. You can give that your attention, but you will be much more successful and you improve the likelihood of producing a solution that's in the best interest of everybody if you start by working on yourself first. So when people would say to me, I don't have time to do this. Okay, keep doing what you're doing and keep experiencing what you're experiencing. But there's a different way. And the different way is to make time to work on yourself. And it doesn't mean you have to carve out time. Like I do this 15-minute daily well-being practice in the morning. That's so that I can start afresh, anew by clearing my mind so that I'm not distracted by starting the day. But throughout the day, I'm working on myself. Throughout the day, I'm always doing something. Now, I can spend that doing by complaining, resisting, not being kind, not noticing the goodness, making enemies of life situations, other people, being worked up when technology doesn't perform the way that I think it should. Somebody didn't do this. I can spend my time doing that, or I can spend my time working on myself. If I do the former of having all my attention spent working on things outside of me as the primary focus, if I do that, then nothing ever changes. But then the next time something happens that I don't like, guess what I'm doing? I'm doing that all the time with that kind of frenetic behavior. But if I spend my time working on me when something happens, then the next time that situation shows up, it requires less of me. And then it will show up again. And then it will require even less. And then eventually when it shows up, I don't even notice. Oh, we have a technology problem? Oh, no problem. We'll make the best of it. Great. Oh, we can't use technology. Oh, I got to do this without a slide deck? Got it. No problem. Let's go. Or I could be like, what do you mean the slide didn't even work? I sent it to you. Who lost it? It's got to be somebody's fault. That's one way to do it. Then guess what happens the next time that the technology has an issue? It's somebody's fault again. And you're causing suffering for yourself and for other people. So everything that shows up is an opportunity for you to work on yourself. Going through a divorce, not desirable, but you're still going through a divorce. So you make it your point that when moving forward, I want to work on myself in such a way that whenever something happens into where there's somebody in my life who chooses or something happens that dictates that we go in different directions, that I'm able to handle that. It can come in the form of colleagues moving on to other opportunities, children going away to college, the death of a loved one, your manager moving on. All those things can happen because you worked on yourself. With a divorce, you're able to handle these moving forward and handle it with love and grace and an open heart. You only get to do an experience like that way when you make time to work on yourself. But if you don't, keep doing what you're doing. And then guess what becomes the story of your life? Suffering. Keith 1.0 was on that path. Thankfully, thankfully, something happened in which I got on a different path. And now I'm on the one. What path are you on now, Keith? The one that leads to peace. That's the road I'm on. Join me.